Sustainable and maintainable and surviving businesses and organizations are dependent on the use of all information.
So Aaron, starting off, what can we learn about system science and cybernetics?
System science is the science of looking at the whole, at systems like organisms, life, organizations, not just by looking at the parts of them, but as a total coherent system. Cybernetics comes from the Greek word kyber, kyber meaning helmsman, steering, navigating a ship. And that is only possible by using information. What the weather is, what the sea will be doing, how deep the water is and so on, are all conditions of knowledge to be able to steer it safely. This applies to everything we do. Cybernetics can also be used to steering an organization safely.
And today we are speaking about living systems, so can you explain why it's so important?
Well, a living system automatically makes itself, which we call autopoiesis, maintains itself and sustains itself by using, again, all information. It constantly learns from its environment how to adapt into a sustaining organism, to sustain and maintain itself. Now, fast forward this to organizations. It is the same principle. But the problem what we see nowadays in the world, that information that is not suitable, not welcomed, may be ignored because an organization has a certain purpose. Now this purpose will then contradict the necessity to use cybernetics with all information to be able to balance itself.
So can you explain a little bit of what your research has found?
Yes, we have researched this phenomenon of linearity, non-linearity, feedback loops, etc. And we came up with this new definition, and we call it Realimiteit theory, Realimiteit's principle, in English Realimiteit, for example, which we use to measure, map the maximization of what can be real. How far can you realize a certain goal? We just say, okay, the limits, the boundaries of functionalities are the limits of the Realimiteit principle. So if we, let's say, keep on working within those limits, we can sustain our businesses, our organization. If we go outside, beyond it. So the Realimiteit's principle is the tool we use to map, measure, and predict sustainability.
So in light of the research that you have done, can you give us some examples of this?
Yes, of course, we have looked at, for example, political processes. For example, at the moment we have the problems in Turkey. Turkey, Erdogan has won with 51% the elections. But what he did was to stifle opposition before these elections were there by, for example, imprisoning many of the Gulen supporters. So this is an example how this whole democracy cannot be sustainable because it depends on what we call negative interdependence. So one goal can be reached because others cannot reach it. So we need to change that into positive interdependence, so everybody else, stakeholders, people, are benefiting of that system.
Fantastic. And finally, to summarize, can you explain linearity and non-linearity for us, please?
So linearity, again, I can go back to the Turkey example. He will not be able to control non-linear effects because linearity would say, okay, I have controlled it, causality, I did this, this is going to happen. But now what's going to happen is that eventually the opposition will rise into conflict, into opposition that jeopardizes the whole goal set based upon the linear thinking and non-linear ignorance, because non-linearity is ignored and the effects cannot be controlled by any system.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your insights with us.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
That's all from us here in the Geneva studios, but if you did like this interview, then please do like and comment on Dukascopy.tv.